Now we will move on to the our last speaker. So we have reserved our best speaker in the last, and you can see his glowing face, Mr. Sumit Sarkar. He's taking all the vitamin D that is available. So Mr. Sumit is the former CEO of United Healthcare India. He has over 26 years of experience in healthcare and has served in various B2B companies like G Medical System and Space Labs, and B2C companies like Apollo Clinics and Apollo Hospitals. So, Mr. Sarkar, my question to you is, what in your opinion are the key challenges on making insurance mandatory, and how can we overcome those challenges? Over to you, Mr. Sarkar.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you for the introduction, and to all the fellow panelists. I have listened to all of you with great interest, and I find there are so many areas of overlap in what you think and what I've been thinking about these issues. And technology really works. Though I haven't met many of you in person, it feels that I've got to know your way of thinking or how you think. So it makes for common ground. Thank you. See, I was very happily surprised by the remodeling of the insurance schemes carried out by IRDA in 2019. So if this COVID thing hadn't broken on us, perhaps the insurance sector was evolving in a logical way. Many welcome and long sought for amendments were made by the regulator, and many innovations were brought in. So compliments for the regulator and for the insurance companies for stepping up, and stepping up the game. But then this COVID thing happened, and we're all on the call for that. And I'm going to make a basic assumption out here. I would say that there was a natural progression, evolution of the industry until COVID happened. Now COVID has happened. We're having this discussion. It is a sort of a apocalyptic scenario. It's never before seen. We are living through a historical time, right? What happens going forward? Now, one always, hopes for the best and prepares for the worst. So assuming that the scenario going forward is not so rosy, what could that scenario look like? So one of the scenarios, obviously, a lot of people are talking about it now, is they are saying that, look, we're going to live with COVID, it may never go away, right? The virus is not going to behave like measles. One shot silver bullet kills it. It will keep morphing. So maybe, there are relapses possible. What happens? Second thing, as we knew, the Thomas Friedman talked about it. The world is flat, global world, interconnected supply chains. You see the politics that's happening around you today, whether it's Huawei or Trump's recent announcement. The world is going to realign. It's going to fracture. They're going to go into trade blocks. Market access might reduce. Right? All sorts of trade barriers and political barriers might come up. Supply chains might be broken. Those supply chains will have to be remade to supply the goods and articles that people need. So what's going to happen is probably unit costs are going to go up, right? So costs might, in the short to medium term, while all this restructuring of supply chains is going on, is going to go up. Whether it is for vaccines, whether it is for pharmaceuticals, whether it is for medical products. Look at any hospital, almost look at any OT, 70% of it is paid for in dollar terms and comes from overseas. That's second thing. Third is, there are several industries which are going to be hit very badly and others somewhere in between. For example, all that MICE industry, travel, recreation, all that is pretty badly hit, right? Even after COVID lapses, people to regather, their screw up the courage and go out, we'll see, it will take time. Automobile industry, it was already in flux because of non-COVID issues. Now it is even more under pressure. So our demographic dividend that we love to talk about, young people, so on and so forth, that from being an asset could turn out to be something that is politically very volatile, and we need to be able to handle it. People are being thrown out of work, right? There is a huge migrant population that is in trouble. These are not going to stay outside the boundary walls of a condominium. If this thing goes on, it might intrude, right? So with all these social issues going on, we are reacting to it and saying that, as the question posed by Gaurav is, that what are the key challenges on making health insurance mandatory and how can we overcome those roadblocks? So when you talk about mandatory, the word implies some sort of government regulation, right? And mandatory means compulsory. Nobody is to be left out. That is the implication. So then there are two basic questions that pop up. That is, how are you going to do it? That's the challenge. and whom are you going to cover? Right? Now, I'll just address the how, but sort of in passing. The first challenge of how you're going to do it is, I've never heard too much of a debate on the model we should have to approach somewhere towards universal healthcare, right? One of the models that we have is a single payer model that is popular in some parts of the world. The most popular examples are, for example, Canada and the UK. I think somebody mentioned who was it? The four models of funding. So Canada has, public funding and it's got private delivery. UK has public funding, public delivery, and others are somewhere in the middle. We have sort of muddled along and evolved the way we have. In the single payer model, you have relative simplicity that, everybody gets covered, same level of care for all, and there's universal coverage. The downside, of course, there's moral hazard that, if you're not having to pay out of your pocket for something that you can misuse it, right? And there are longer wait times for treatment. In our country, there's another complication. It is a very narrow tax base, and from a narrow tax base, you have to provide equal treatment for all. So I think practically speaking, if you look at the how, we will have to continue with the system that we have, which is a hybrid, which is a mix of funding for all the different requirements that we have. So with that, I rest my case for how you're going to fund for mandatory healthcare, that we'll continue the current system. No drastic overhaul is possible for the funding at the moment, right? Once you're done with that, we can come to the who. The who has been very well covered. You cannot leave anybody out, whether it is the employed or the unemployed, right? The retired, the diseased or the healthy, men, women, children, transgenders and binaries, nobody is to be left out. Now, several of the panelists have said that, you can address this by addressing the various strata of society through the economic lens. So there's the wealthy, you don't have to worry about. The very poor are being taken care of by the public funding systems such as the PMJ, ESIC, and so on and so forth. So it is the missing middle that everybody is talking about quite correctly. How do you ensure, or what do you do for them? Now, if you sort of take an approach to this missing middle, they're either employed or they are in the structured form of employment as we understand it, the sort of companies or sort of employment that we have or we are used to, and the self-employed or the SME sort of sectors which employ the vast bulk. Now, the corporate sector, the corporate employer is actually the least of our worries. You could say that the corporate employer and the corporate employee, they're spoiled for choice. I think several of the panelists out here will attest to it, that these are very, very demanding customers where more often than not, the cost incurred on servicing those policies is higher than the premium that you get. Right? So that's the least of our worries. So now when you go in, you look at the SMEs or the unregulated or semi-regulated industries. This is the critical one. And now I come to the specific point. What are the challenges? Now, if you look at this SME, the number one challenge would be affordability, right? If it is a mass program to cover all these people, I am assuming that it would have to be on a cost plus basis, right? And for a cost plus basis, you would need some form of subsidy for these people to afford buying a premium for their workers. An easier hurdle to be crossed maybe is that even today, if I'm not wrong, and somebody can correct me, I think there's a 15% tax on the premium that you pay today, right? So one short-term fix could be to make it a moderate amount, right? The taxation can be put down. Second could be, again, if you're a structured employer in the regime of GST, right? You've got input tax credits and so on and so forth. So simplifying those for employers in the small sector could be a thing. Now, coming from that, if you come to the individual, what are the challenges? The self-employed, the individual, how is he to buy? So the first challenge out there is adoption. How do you get this person to understand the value of health insurance and to adopt it? So I feel you need to adapt and develop local language communication, simplification of the benefits and responsibilities. And I look at the mutual fund industry with some admiration, because all of you would have seen some point or the other, all the audiovisual spots that the mutual fund industry has developed to communicate why the man on the street should invest in mutual funds, right? So that is a communication battle. Then the second is, if you are able to communicate to the person, you have to ensure purchase and persistence. You purchase once, it's not one shot, you have to persist with it. So affordability, persistence, renewal of premium, these are issues that we'll have to address, maybe through smarter product design. And then, of course, all the old issues of the fine print. Many people have, touched upon it. You sign some contract, and when you go to claim, you find this is excluded, that's a moratorium, that's a waiting period, and you're completely cheesed off because you haven't understood the product that you've bought, right? So these are for the buyer or the person we are trying to cover. But what about the insurer? The insurer also has his heartaches and his heartburns, right? And the challenges that he faces. One would be communications, of course, to develop communications. Second would be operations. If you are suddenly going to make it mandatory, you're going to see volumes that you haven't seen before, right? So there would be a propulsive thrust on InsurTech to scale up. For example, if you're suddenly going to onboard lakhs and lakhs of new policyholders, so to speak, right? How do you screen them medically? Do you not? If you don't screen them medically, can you ensure that everybody has an app downloaded, and that app sort of measures what their, their walking, their habits, exercise they get, and sort of sets a default. And then when you renew, maybe you go for a screening or you go for a repricing. I don't know. Then if you're going to get people on board, how do you distribute your product? So for distribution means Bharat, not just India. So could you take the post and telegraphs, as a conduit to get your product out? So that could be another challenge for the insurer. Now I would like to touch on another segment that we've sort of touched in passing. Mr. Segar touched on it. This is the healthcare providers, right? And I would sort of equate it to when you talk about mandatory insurance, you're asking a person to buy a ticket, but the ticket is to a show which plays in the hospital, right? So if you buy a ticket and the show is no good, the ticket holder, the guy who bought the ticket, is not going to be very happy about it, right? So you can talk about the quality of care that you get for the insurance policy that you buy.
We need to now close this because
I'll wrap it up in a minute.
Yeah.
Right? So here the challenge will be for medical providers, and you need to have a product mix for medical providers. People have talked about prevention, detection, maintenance as in doctor consultations, curative as in inpatient policies, and palliative, which would be end of life, chronic pain. So we need to bundle a product line for that. The other challenge for the medical providers would be revenue mix. If suddenly a lot of insured patients come in, their outstandings are going to go up, and the reimbursement rates need to be considered, because if the volumes go up, hopefully unit cost should come down and they should be able to give lower prices. So these are the challenges I see for the different people in the mix.
Smith, I think these were wonderful insights, and I think a lot of good points that you have